There's something we rarely pause to consider, and perhaps that's because it makes us deeply uncomfortable. We live in a world that quietly ranks human minds. Through test scores, classroom performance, and casual assumptions, we assign value to people based on how fast they think, how much they retain, how well they perform. But what does psychology actually reveal about those at the extreme lower end of the IQ spectrum? Because the answer might gently, but completely, shift the way you understand the human mind itself. Today, we're exploring the psychology of extremely low IQ, what it truly means neurologically, how these individuals experience the world, and why understanding this changes everything. Let's begin with what IQ actually measures, and more importantly, what it doesn't. Intelligence quotient is a standardized way of assessing cognitive abilities, reasoning, problem-solving, processing speed, and working memory. The average score is 100. When that score falls below 70, psychologists classify it as an intellectual disability. Below 40 or 50, it's considered severe or profound cognitive impairment. But here is where something genuinely important needs to be said. An extremely low IQ does not describe an empty mind. It describes a mind that is organized differently, one that processes the world through its own unique architecture. And when we approach that architecture with curiosity, rather than judgment, we begin to understand something profound. The prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for abstract reasoning, long-term planning, and complex decision-making, shows reduced connectivity in individuals with very low IQ. Neural processing moves more slowly. Tasks that many of us navigate without thinking, reading social cues, anticipating consequences, understanding cause and effect, require far greater cognitive effort. In some individuals, these capacities never fully develop. And yet, that is only part of the story. Because here is the paradox that genuinely moves me as a psychologist. Many individuals with profoundly low IQ possess something that standardized testing was never designed to capture: a deep, steady, emotional sensitivity. They remember not through abstract thought, but through feeling, through routine, through the quiet reliability of familiar patterns. Their world is not built on logic puzzles or verbal reasoning. It is grounded in direct experience, in the warmth of a familiar voice, the comfort of a consistent routine, the safety of a known face. And within that world, many of them live with remarkable coherence and quiet dignity. Procedural memory, the kind that holds on to learned habits and repeated sequences, often remains strong and dependable. They learn not through explanation, but through experience, rhythm, and repetition. This is not a lesser form of knowing. It is simply a different one. And when we begin to honor that difference, rather than measure it against a narrow standard, we start to see these individuals not as deficient versions of something else, but as complete human beings living authentically within their own cognitive world. Now, I want you to sit gently with this question for a moment. How much of what we call intelligence is simply adaptation to one very particular kind of environment? Psychologist Howard Gardner spent decades challenging the idea that intelligence is a single, measurable thing. He proposed instead that human intelligence takes many forms: linguistic, spatial, interpersonal, emotional, bodily, kinesthetic, each as real and as valuable as the next. Standard IQ tests were designed with a specific purpose: to predict academic success. They were never designed to measure human worth, emotional richness, or the depth of one's capacity for love and connection. And that distinction matters enormously. Research in behavioral psychology consistently reveals that individuals with extremely low IQ are far more emotionally perceptive than we commonly assume. Studies on social attachment in this population show real, meaningful bonds: loyalty, tenderness, affection, and a remarkable sensitivity to tone of voice and emotional warmth. That is because the emotional brain, the limbic system, operates largely independently from abstract reasoning. It does not require a high IQ to feel deeply, to attach sincerely, or to love with complete and genuine wholeness. So what does psychology ultimately ask us to take away from all of this? When we examine extremely low IQ through a compassionate, modern lens, it tenderly dismantles assumptions we didn't even know we were carrying. Intelligence, as we've long defined it, is just one thread in a far richer, more intricate human tapestry. The brain, every brain, is always reaching, always adapting, always finding its own quiet way to connect and make meaning. And perhaps the most humbling truth of all is this: the things that make us most human, love, loyalty, joy, fear, genuine connection, were never measured by any test ever written. They never will be.